I gave my Discord the option to pick the topic for my next Halloween special, and this is an idea that I loved. There are many questions to answer here. Which Joestar, antagonist, and part have the most bodies? We'll be looking at that right here in this video. If you frequently watch my content, there's the option to subscribe, which helps a lot for the channel. But now, on to the video. Phantom Blood. The first people we have here are manga specific. In chapter 1 of Phantom Blood, a tribe leader sacrifices a woman to fuel the stone mask, and one of the members of the tribe gives himself up as a showcasing of the mask's power. It states that the tribe had disappeared from existence, but I don't really think that's something to count. So that's 2 on the board. Now onto the anime. Episode 1 of Phantom Blood. Mother of Jonathan Joestar, Mary Joestar, dies in a fatal carriage accident and with the carriage driver. After this, there was the death of Dio Brando's mom, who had gone unnamed. Dio says that his father had worked her to death, so I imagine that the death was a product of years of abuse. Following that was Dario Brando, who had been poisoned over time by Dio. Later into the episode, Dio also goes on to kill Danny, the Joestar family dog. Episode 2 begins with a victim of Jack the Ripper. Then somewhere near the end, Dio kills 2 people when he's on this drunken tirade. Episode 3 is a bloodbath. In this episode, Dio takes out George Joestar, this inspector, and 4 police officers. Dio has an insane work ethic. In episode 4, we get a flashback to when William Zeppeli had a stone mask in his possession. His father had put on the mask, for some reason, and killed exactly 58 ship members, and then was killed by the sun. Now, I feel like I shouldn't count flashback kills, but I guess we didn't really establish any rules here, did we? So we can just keep on going. Oh yeah, Jack the Ripper gets a kill in the middle of the episode and gets the carriage driver with their 2 horses. And at the end, Jonathan Joestar kills Jack the Ripper. So I guess that case is closed. Episode 5, Zeboli and Jonathan take out 5 zombies fairly easy. We get a flashback to the times of Bruford and Tarkus, and the ones who died here were Mary Stuart, Darnley, Tarkus, Bruford, and the executioner of Tarkus and Bruford, because Bruford always goes out in a bang. Now, Dio has his iconic "how many breads have you eaten in your lifeline," but that leaves an indefinite amount of people dead, but we can do an analysis of this in the future. Episode 6, Bruford dies a second time. Some people wouldn't count the death of a zombie. I am not some people. Now, for another manga-specific scene in chapter 31, Tarkus takes out 2 guys that were bullying Pocoloco. Not because he was helping him, he was just thirsty. I want to go about excluded scenes like this more in the future, but that's another video also. Episode 7. Tarkus kills Zeppeli, Jonathan kills Tarkus, and then Adam sometime after. Unrelated, the undefeatable Thunder Cross split attack fails for the first time out of the 2 times that it's used. Dio also turns a mom into a vampire, and as for the baby of the mom, well, I'm marking it up on here. Episode 8. There's a Chimera zombie killed by Dio. Doobie, who is taken out by Jonathan, this one devil-looking monster from the manga that was also done in by Jonathan. There's Plant, Jones, Page, Bornham, who were taken care of by Straizo. There's also 2 zombies taken out by Dio's eye laser beams. I had a lot of pausing to do with this scene in specific with all of these zombies, and from what I've counted, there are at least 30 here. Then there also a Dyer who also died somewhere in there. So that's a ratio of at least 39 zombies to 1 Dyer. Episode 9, the end of Phantom Blood. We got a drunk priest named Father Styx, Lisa's mom, and Wing Chan. But before the final death, we got a lot going on here. There are most likely more people than the ones that we've seen, considering that this is a pretty big ship. But since I'm just counting the ones that I've seen die and going only off of statements like William Zeppeli's in the earlier one, there are only about 25-ish people. And then finally, we have the death of Jonathan Joestar. So that's 28 people in total from ones that we have seen. We'll be finishing this all up with a huge, large count up at the end, but for now, battle tendency. I'll be numbering the episodes after the grouping that the anime does for Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency, so when I say episode 10, that's still episode 1 of Battle Tendency. Now on to episode 10. The first kills here are flashback kills with Joseph's profession in crashing planes, which took out 2 hijackers. Next, Straight So continues with his competitive career by starting with another quadra kill with 2 excavators and 2 of his disciples. Episode 11, Joseph takes out Straizo and begins his painful journey that we call Battle Tendency. Later into the episode, we see the terrible Stroheim command his people to kill all of his prisoners. I counted 29 in the manga, so that adds up to 30 in this episode. Episode 12, now Santana runs up the kills. This is the true Pillarman's power. He takes out 1 vampire prisoner, but after taking over a soldier's body, he buzzes down 9 of Stroheim's people using his finger gun. We also got to count the body that he took over, so that's 10 bodies in total for Santana. Now we're going on into episode 14, as no one actually died in 13. Here we have the awakening of the Pillarmen. Wamu ran it up harder than Santana. With his special Pillarman powers, he drinks 1 officer and 11 soldiers in one go. Shortly after, he takes out half of Mark. In total, that's 13 bodies. Next, episode 17, The Loss of Loggins. Lots of building going on in these episodes, not many bodies. After this, we have episode 18, The Complete End to Everything AC/DC. Then sometime after, Kara saves a dog but takes out 2 drunk drivers in the process. Starting to think he's not the best superhero out there. A bit later, Kars turns on his Pillarman heat-seeking abilities, counting 5 bodies, and takes out all 5. Now the problem here is that if you look at the manga and actually try to count the bodies at hand, there's 6. So, like, wow, like Kars is bad at saving people and math. This is your ultimate life form? I don't know, man. Seems pretty odd to me. Now in episode 20, Caesar loses his battle against Wamu. We also get a flashback of his dad sacrificing himself, so that's 2 Zeppeli shown in 1 episode. Damn. Episode 21, The Swift Defeat of Wired Beck. Episode 23, before fading away, Wamu takes out 5 soldiers of Kars' undead army, and then he dies a bit after. While lamenting over the death of Wamu, we get a flashback to a kill of a member of the Hamon tribe. We know that they are wiped out altogether, but I don't have anything to go off here for the amount of them. After the flashback, Kars takes out 3 more soldiers. Then there's the death of Kars, or well, his double. Though, credit to Lisa, that's 2 more people than Caesar in total. Now, he had 0, but it's the sentiment, I guess. After Stroheim gets back into battle with his people, they kill a total of 42 zombie soldiers. It was terrible trying to find all of this together, but that's 52 bodies in this 1 episode. Episode 24, in a flashback, we have the loss of George Joestar II, but who's there to avenge her husband? Lisa, so that's 3 more than Caesar. Now on to episode 25. I'm not too fond of the counting here. In order, we have a squirrel, a soldier killed by the squirrel, and then all of these zombies. Oh my god. The first point to make, this squirrel also has more bodies than Caesar. Did I have to mention that? No, but did I enjoy it? Yes. As for the zombies, with the power of stitching and zooming, it adds up to a total of what I believe to be 88 zombies. That is ridiculous, though it makes sense since, yeah, it is an army. Episode 26. Now, you may expect me to put Kars here as a death, because, oh man, yeah, it's basically dead, right? I will not. Instead, we're just counting the people that die in the episode, that being Stroheim, Arena, and Speedwagon. We also have a flashback near the beginning of the episode where both Kars and AC/DC take out the entire Pillarman tribe. I'm counting all of the people I see in this scene as to where there is surrounding Kars, but that is it. There were more than 50, but we're marking up only what we can see, given that we have no numbers like the Zeppeli case in part 1, and that is it for Battle Tendency. Now let's get into Stardust Crusaders. Episode 1, the kill at the very end. Dio had killed a woman and left her on his steps. Episode 4, Greyfly racks up some of the most kills I've seen from a minor antagonist. It was pretty ridiculous. In one go, he takes out 4 seated passengers, then also goes out to take out both the plane's pilots and a flight attendant. After that, he dies from the sheer dismemberment that he received from Kakyoin, but damn, that's a lot of bodies. Episode 5, we get a flashback to the death of Polnareff's sister, Sherry. Episode 6, we found out the person who we thought was Captain Tenno was actually an imposter. Jotaro takes the mean of pressing button and voting him off single-handedly. Yeah, look at my third channel. I know about games. I'm hip. I'm with it. Episode 7, Forever is going absolutely mad and kills 6 Speedwagon Foundation sailors. That is terrible. Jotaro later finds out that Forever is the second imp and takes him out too. Episode 8, a hotel valet gets his face turned into pastrami by Ebony Devil. Shortly after, the stand user of Ebony Devil, Devo the Cursed, is turned into shredded cheese to finish up this fatality sandwich that this episode made. You like that? That was pretty good? Yeah, I know. Episode 9, Rubber Soul puts down a dog named Pocky with the help of its owner. Some people go to the vet for this type of thing, but I guess to each their own. Episode 10, J. Guile and Whole Horse kill a snake. Yeah, early Stardust Crusaders isn't really working with a lot. Episode 11, Polnareff turns J. Guile into a pincushion because what J. Guile didn't know is that Polnareff grew up with that snake, lived with that snake, and is a huge, massive fan of Metal Gear. I understand why Polnareff would be so upset. Episode 12, Empress doesn't like helpful people, so she destroys a doctor's face with a scalpel. The anime doesn't do this scene justice. It is way more gruesome in the manga because it's like, oh, how are you gonna die from just getting stabbed in the face? But it's completely different. Next, Joseph didn't like that Polnareff was going out on dates, so to get his friend back, he had taken out Nina, the stand user of Empress. If you're wondering what's going on, my sanity here is dwindling from counting. Episode 25, Ndual gets a triple by taking out 2 Speedwagon pilots, and then in the next episode, he takes out himself? The results may shock you. Continuing, episode 26, Boingo tells a mangaka his fortune, and that gets him killed. Now, considering what had happened, I think that Boingo should change professions. Death is a pretty bad side effect for fortune telling. Episode 28, Chaka Khan goes through the fire with Anubis' power to take out his father and 2 of his friends. Some people use communication. Okay. Episode 38. Pet Shop shows that it's not too fond of dogs by killing 2 of them. Shortly after, Pet Shop also shows that it's not too fond of real estate owners by taking out 1. Now, some people communicate your thoughts, but again, Pet Shop, like this part, is not some people. They are a bird. Now in episode 39, Iggy avenges his fellow real estate owners by killing Pet Shop. Nobody here talks in this series. They should try to get their point across differently, I believe. Episode 42, Vanilla Ice takes the Ndual route, but then Dio revives him using his vampire blood. It's good to know that the medical insurance you get under Dio does you well. After returning to life, Vanilla Ice confirms that it is indeed demon time and takes out Avdol. Episode 44, we lose Iggy and then Vanilla Ice is killed by Polnareff shortly after. I guess that his insurance doesn't cover weather. Episode 45, Dio helps Senator Wilson Phillips with his presidential campaign by making him drive into a sidewalk filled with people. From what I'm counting in the manga, that's about 24-ish people. But since Dio wants to run for president next, he throws Phillips to the side. Or well, more so to the front, out of a window. I'd say that his campaign is doing pretty well. You can't just vote for someone who just drives on the sidewalks like that, like come on. Episode 46, Dio kills Kakyoin. There's no pun here. This messed me up. Episode 47, after buying a couple of knives, Dio tips the clerk. But the only currency that he has is death. Episode 48, Joseph dies? Do we count this? I guess we count this. We're counting this. But after this, Jotaro gets Dio a refund from the clerk earlier and gives him his death currency back. Joseph also comes back. Oh my god, finally. We finished Stardust Crusaders 2 more parts, because we're doing anime only. Diamond is unbreakable. Episode 1, we don't know who's dead, but someone is dead and Kira did it. Episode 2, Angelo gets a triple kill with 2 old men and a dog. Now, since Josuke really liked one of the old men, he turned Angelo into a rock, but he is still alive. It's just a life that you live as a rock. Ask Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Come on, you know how that works. Episode 16, Josuke begins his career in pest control by killing 2 rats. Now, spoiler alert, those 2 rats go on to be the only thing that he kills in this franchise, technically. Now, before we get into the next episode, I'm introducing a new series in this. It is called the Kira Kill Streak. Let's rack it up. Episode 22, Shikichi and the Cenobi Shoes Owner. That's 2. Episode 24, Kosaku Kawajiri and Ayasu Suji. That's another 2. And then the kill streak is broken because in episode 30, Shinobu inadvertently kills Tamama, the cat that becomes Stray Cat, the stand. But if we didn't count that, then Kira would have gone undisputed for 6 kills because we now have episode 34. Yoshikage Kira finds himself tired of all these new music these couples listen to these days and takes out Satoru and Minako. There was also Masazo Kanoto, who was killed by a stand Cheap Trick, but who also died. But that's not as important as Kira's KD ratio here, okay? Episode 38. Kira frame traps a pervert and the dude gets blown up. That's not a pun, that's real facts. Now, this wasn't enough. Kira wanted to get his kills up, so his father helps him out by adding himself to the count. See, that's what every strong team needs. Someone to die for the cause. And finally, episode 39, Kira admits to killing 48 women in total? That's a terrifying amount. What the hell? Since I think that he means all of this happened before his Kosaku form, I'm just gonna add 48 on top of everything. And if we're off, then hey, we're off. Oh well. Kira also gets rolled by an ambulance. It happens. Ambulances are pretty deadly. Oh, I can feel myself evolving. Part 5 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Episode 2, Giorno secures his spot as the first Joestar to get the first kill. Joseph can technically be in the same area, but that was a flashback, and Giorno did his with Leaky Eye Luca because he attacked his frog friend, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. See, what Luca didn't understand is that we love our amphibians out here. Isn't that right, Mudkip? Yeah, you see, they get it. They get it. Episode 3, Black Sabbath kills a janitor. Not really sure how you report that to the police. Episode 4, we got the infamous banana gun, and Polpo ends up being our 3rd kill in the part. Episode 6, we get a flashback to Abakio's days as a Fed, and his partner gets capped. GG. Episode 9, we know that Trish's mom is dead? Does that count? I guess we're counting that. Episode 10, in a flashback, Chocolata is turning Sorbet into a Damien Hirst art piece. Gelato hates modern art and died from that alone. Episode 11, Formaggio lives up to his name by dying a bubbly and melty mess filled with holes. He thanks Narancia for helping him fulfill his dream of being a human cheese block. Episode 13, Aluzo stops talking to the man in the mirror. Reason? He's dead. This event goes down as Fugo's single battle. Well, there's also his other battle of him versus his anger management. Episode 16. After learning that Prosciutto is alive, Pesci catches his first body because, like Virgil, he is so motivated. Then, when trying to find Bruno, he gets a random passenger. He's trying. In the end, Bruno wins the 1v1 with him because Pesci didn't know that Bruno's dad was a fisherman. So of course, he's going to know how to use a fishing line. Duh. Prosciutto dies shortly after some injuries caused by playing with the train tracks. Your mom taught you better, man. Come on, you don't do that. Episode 18. Melone wanted to get a feature from Coyote Peterson, so they went and tried to find out what it's like to get bit by a gold experience snake. Spoiler alert, you die. Episode 19, Giorno shows Gyachao that he played Chun-Li in Third Strike. Gyachao, unfortunately, doesn't parry a single hit as he is in Dizzy. You should have been blocking. Episode 20. After playing lots of Metal Gear, Bruno sneaks around and gets 2 kills on some dealers trying to finish the job. But his dad dies later on. Episode 21. Bruno loses his Nuzlocke on life, but Giorno helps him cheat. Episode 23. Narancia didn't like the fact that Tiziano and Squalo served him a soup that eats him back. Well, can you blame them for trying new things, Narancia? Like, come on, it's hard to run a business. And instead of leaving a Google review, since they weren't invented yet, Narancia kills him. The 90s were a tough time. Episode 24, Carne tries to walk down on Bruno's group, but now it's just them. Episode 26, Diavolo knew about what happened to the mangaka and Star Wars Crusaders, so he takes out the fortune teller because he will not let these psychics get ahead of him. Episode 27, Risotto kills a frog. But what he doesn't know is that he sealed his fate in that kill. The Frog Clan will always avenge their loved ones. Episode 28, Diavolo shows his disdain for heavy metal by ordering a hitman to punch holes through this very large sheet of metal that we call Risotto Nero. In the middle of the episode, he goes on to eat a frog. Now we know what's going to happen with this guy later. And later, near the end, Abacchio gets caught trying to read logs and gets taken out by Diavolo. One imposter remains. Episode 29, we see 2 guys fall apart due to Chocolata's Green Day. But we can see that there's actually 7 people altogether from this aerial shot. Episode 30, Chocolata didn't have much reception, so he followed Giorno and friends to get a better connection. Now, the effects of Green Day here are extremely potent. From what we've seen on the screen, there were at least 16 people that are just falling apart. There are most likely many people who died inside of buildings and all, but since I can't see it, I'm not going to be counting some potential kills. Episode 31. Giorno revokes Chocolata's medical license because of his massive amounts of malpractice. But before Chocolata could change professions, Giorno diagnoses him with a fatal condition called death. Episode 32. Secco didn't know that Bruno was good at magic. That gets him killed. Episode 33. Diavolo finishes the job on Polnareff. That's just something else. Episode 35. Diavolo kills Narancia. This upsets me. There are no puns. Episode 36. Mista, a known member of the Frog Clan, takes out Doppio. Don't you ever underestimate the gang. Ever again, Doppio. Episode 37. Cats supposedly have 9 lives. Bruno only has 2 and loses both. And finally, episode 38. Diavolo dies infinitely. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't really know what I'm supposed to, that's gonna be hard to chart. Now, before I forget to mention, there was an extra 41 zombies that Stroheim's men had taken out when they got to the fight. Now that that's out of the way, we can get straight into the numbers. So, which part had the highest kills in these animated JoJo parts? Well, at the bottom, we have Diamond is Unbreakable with 67. Next, Star Wars Crusaders at 69. Nice. Phantom Blood has 162, and then there's Battle Tendency with 268. So how exactly do you one up that number? It's a fairly large number. Well, there's Golden Wind with Infinity. So, that's pretty nice, right? Like that's drastically different between the two. But if we're not counting the infinite death loop, then Golden Wind ends off on the lowest of all the parts at 56 flat, with Battle Tendency being the highest. As for the highest kills, I'd like to share a bunch of these numbers. We're going to look at kills 5 and above. First, we have Giorno with just 5, unless we're counting the infinite death loop. Next, there's Diavolo with 8. He's also the one character with the most main character kills here, with 3 of them, if we count Bruno twice. If not, then he's the same as Vanilla Ice in that regard. After Diavolo is Part 1 Dio with 16 kills, and I'd say that that's a relatively large gap between the two. It's double. And then there's Chocolata, one-upping him with 17 kills. After that, there is another gap with Jonathan Joestar at 33. Next is AC/DC with 51, because I'm counting the efforts of Cars and him together against the Pillarmen. Now, we're in the top 5 territory of the highest kills here. Number 5. William Zeppeli's father with 58. That's extremely shocking, don't you think? Extremely shocking. Number 4, Yoshikage Kira with 60. You should have already expected him to be up here. Next, number 3, Cars, who stands above the many with 64. And then next there's 2 with the amount of people that Stroheim and his man killed, who cares? Now, our number 1 character with the most snapped KD ratio of all time, the Sun. Not the stand, not the stand user either. They wish. It's just that's not. They couldn't even touch that. The actual physical Sun with 89 kills. Granted, there are a bunch of zombie kills, but still kills nonetheless. So the highest antagonist kills are from Cars. The part with the highest kills is either Battle Tendency or Golden Wind, with how you want to go about it. And Jonathan Joestar is our shining knight here, having the most kills of any Joestar, unless you want to count Giorno, because infinite deaths, you know, that's a real thing, people. Thank you all for watching. This is not going to be a long outro. You know what? It's not. I hope you all enjoy your Halloween inside. It's a great time. I love October, and man, I wish it was longer. Hopefully, I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace out, and Godspeed.